In the ever-evolving world of boxing, where skill, heart, and legacy intertwine, there are rare nights when the sport transcends itself, when two men step into the ring not merely to compete but to define eras. The 2023 meeting between Japan's Naoya Inoue and America's Steven Fulton was one such night. It was a collision of styles, a test of pride, and a contest that revealed the depth of one fighter's genius and the unrelenting spirit of the other. Naoya Inoue, nicknamed the Monster, had already carved out a reputation as one of Japan's greatest ever fighters. Compact at 5 feet 5 inches, yet explosive and precise, he had built his career on a devastating combination of power, timing, and composure. His journey had been one of steady dominance, a march through divisions and champions that left few doubting his place among the sport's elite. Fresh off a commanding victory over Paul Butler, where he unified the bantamweight titles to become undisputed champion, Inoue now sought to chase greatness at a higher weight. The next challenge was clear: to move up to the super bantamweight division and face the man who ruled there. Steven Fulton Jr. Steven "Cool Boy" Steph Fulton had become the face of the 122-pound class. Smooth, technical, and tactically disciplined, Fulton had developed his own brand of boxing brilliance. His rise began in the tough Philadelphia gyms that forged champions. By the time he captured his first world title in a grueling battle with Angelo Leo, the boxing world recognized him as something special. Fulton's ability to adapt, his composure under fire, and his talent for controlling tempo made him one of the most complete fighters in the sport. He then unified titles by defeating Brandon Figueroa, a fight that tested his grit and showcased his resilience. Fulton had fought wars, but he had never faced a monster like Inoue. The build-up to their meeting was charged. Fulton, confident and accustomed to being the superior technician, did not hesitate to express his views. He spoke with the kind of self-assurance that champions often carry. He believed Inoue's success was inflated by circumstance. To Fulton, the hype surrounding Inoue had as much to do with geography as skill. "He's a good fighter," Fulton said, "but I feel like the hype is around him because he's a Japanese person doing these things. That's all. That's the hype." The words carried an unmistakable edge, part bravado, part doubt, and part psychological warfare. Inoue, in contrast, was quiet, almost stoic. He rarely engaged in verbal sparring. His responses came through action, not rhetoric. His discipline, his methodical approach, and his focus had long been his calling cards. As the date approached, it became clear that the contrast between the two fighters extended far beyond style. It was cultural, psychological, and deeply personal. Fulton, the slick technician from Philadelphia, represented American swagger and urban grit. Inoue, the silent destroyer from Kanagawa, embodied Japanese precision and restraint. Their meeting was not just a fight, it was a clash of philosophies. Yet the prelude was not without controversy. Fulton accused Inoue's camp of potential foul play, implying that the Japanese star might enter the ring with loaded gloves. Fulton's side declared, "I refuse to let my fighter get in the ring with someone who has loaded gloves," suggesting that there was proof on a phone, proof they never publicly produced. The accusation hung in the air, unsubstantiated but tantalizing to those seeking drama. For Inoue, it was an unnecessary distraction. For Fulton, perhaps, it was an attempt to unsettle the monster before he struck. As fight night arrived in Tokyo, the anticipation was electric. The Ariake Arena glowed beneath the lights, a sea of calm faces masking the collective pulse of a nation. Japanese crowds are famously polite, their cheers measured and respectful, yet the sense of reverence for Inoue was palpable. Across from him stood Fulton, calm and composed, ready to defend his WBO and WBC super bantamweight titles. Few visiting champions dared face Inoue in Japan, but Fulton's confidence had carried him here. He believed his boxing IQ and reach advantage would be enough to neutralize the monster's power. When the opening bell rang, the contrast in rhythm was immediate. Fulton began cautiously, seeking to establish his jab, to dictate distance, and to test the waters of Inoue's speed. But Inoue's timing was sharper. His jab, often overshadowed by his knockout power, became a weapon of control. Each thrust landed cleanly, snapping Fulton's head back or forcing him to reset. It was not the storm of wild aggression many expected, it was surgical dominance. Inoue feinted, slipped, and countered with precision. Fulton was composed but defensive, his output limited as he tried to decipher the rhythm of the Japanese prodigy. Round after round, Inoue's command grew. He jabbed to the head, then to the body, each strike serving a dual purpose, scoring points and gathering data. His movement was efficient, his footwork understated but effective. He cut off the ring with uncanny intuition, forcing Fulton into narrower and narrower corridors of safety. Fulton's famed jab, the tool that had carried him to glory, was rendered ineffective. Inoue's speed was blinding, his reactions a split-second faster. Every time Fulton tried to establish his rhythm, he was met with a counter, sharp, punishing, and precise. By the third round, Fulton's nose began to bleed. The damage was not catastrophic, but symbolic. It marked the moment when Inoue's control became undeniable. Fulton's face, normally expressionless in the ring, now showed flickers of frustration. He tried to press forward, to assert physicality, but each attempt met resistance. Inoue's combinations flowed naturally, double jab, right hand upstairs, left hook to the body. He was dictating not only the fight's pace but also its story. Fulton's corner urged patience, advising him to use his legs, to stay on his bike, and to draw Inoue forward. But even that strategy faltered. Inoue's ring-cutting was masterful. He glided laterally, always one step ahead, forcing Fulton into exchanges he did not want. The American's movement, normally a strength, became a liability. He was being hunted by a predator who anticipated his every move. Inoue's jab became the compass guiding the destruction, a metronome that dictated the rhythm of battle. In the fifth round, Inoue's dominance became suffocating. He varied his combinations, jabs, right hands, uppercuts, and body shots that thudded with authority. Fulton fought back gamely, landing the occasional right hand, but Inoue absorbed them without breaking stride. The Japanese fighter's balance and posture remained immaculate, his expression unchanged. Every motion seemed deliberate, every punch part of a larger design. The Tokyo crowd remained subdued, yet beneath the quiet was awe. They were witnessing artistry disguised as violence. By the sixth round, the outcome was becoming inevitable. Fulton's confidence had eroded. His famed lateral movement had vanished, neutralized by Inoue's relentless pressure and speed. He was standing directly in front of the monster, and that is the last place any boxer wishes to be. Inoue's rhythm quickened. His right hand found its mark repeatedly. The crowd gasped each time Fulton's head snapped back. Still, the American tried to answer, landing a few clean counters, but they lacked the sting needed to deter Inoue. Commentators often describe Inoue's power in terms of raw force, but what truly separates him is torque, the seamless transfer of energy through perfect mechanics. He does not load up on punches. He releases them effortlessly, yet they land with devastating effect. Each strike is the product of timing, leverage, and impeccable balance. As Fulton began to falter, Inoue's assault grew more fluid, more ruthless. The end, it seemed, was approaching. In the seventh round, Inoue found the opening he had been crafting since the first bell. Fulton, backed toward the ropes, momentarily relaxed his guard after absorbing a series of jabs. Inoue feinted left, then unleashed a thunderous right hand over the top. It landed flush. Fulton staggered backward, his body betraying him as his legs gave way. The monster had struck. The crowd, restrained as ever, let out a collective gasp. Fulton tried to rise, struggling to regain equilibrium, but his eyes betrayed the damage. Inoue, sensing the finish, moved in for the kill. What followed was a blur of precision violence. Inoue unleashed a flurry, hooks, straights, and uppercuts, each thrown with perfect accuracy. Fulton's defense crumbled under the onslaught. He tried to clinch, to survive, but Inoue's combinations were relentless. A final right hand sent Fulton collapsing into the ropes. The referee had seen enough. The fight was stopped. The monster had done it again. Naoya Inoue was now a 4-division world champion. As the crowd rose in respectful applause, Inoue raised his gloves, not in arrogance, but in quiet triumph. His face remained serene, his demeanor unchanged. There was no need for boastfulness. His performance had spoken volumes. Across the ring, Fulton stood dazed but dignified. "It just felt like pressure," he later said. "It was that shot I didn't see that did the job. But he's a good fighter, though." It was an honest admission from a proud champion who had simply been outclassed. The result reverberated through the boxing world. Inoue's victory was more than another title. It was a statement of greatness. To move up in weight and dismantle an elite, undefeated champion was a feat few had ever achieved. Analysts marveled at how easily he transitioned between divisions, carrying his power, speed, and precision with him. Some called it his masterpiece. Others saw it as the continuation of a legacy still being written. For Fulton, the defeat was humbling but not career-defining. He had dared to face the sport's most feared man on foreign soil, an act of courage few champions would risk. Despite his earlier words, his post-fight demeanor reflected respect. He acknowledged that Inoue's timing, power, and composure were unlike anything he had encountered. The rematch question quickly emerged. Could Fulton adjust? Could he find a way to neutralize the monster? The boxing world debated the possibilities. A potential rematch between Inoue and Fulton carries intrigue not because of doubt in the outcome, but because of what it represents. For Fulton, it would be a chance at redemption, an opportunity to rewrite the narrative and reclaim his pride. He remains an elite talent, capable of adaptation, and few doubt his intelligence in the ring. Yet the task is monumental. To beat Naoya Inoue requires more than skill. It demands perfection. It demands the ability to solve a puzzle that has confounded every opponent so far. For Inoue, a rematch would be another step in the pursuit of immortality. Each division he conquers and each champion he dismantles adds to his legend. His power, so extraordinary for his size, continues to defy logic. But perhaps even more impressive is his discipline, the mental sharpness that allows him to execute complex strategies with calm precision under the brightest lights. His dominance is not born of arrogance, but of craftsmanship. The story of Naoya Inoue versus Steven Fulton is, ultimately, a tale of contrasts. One fighter sought to prove his supremacy through intellect and composure, the other through mastery and destruction. Their meeting in Tokyo was not just a championship fight. It was the intersection of two careers, two philosophies, and two paths that defined the modern era of lower-weight boxing. It was a reminder that greatness comes in many forms, but true mastery lies in consistency and evolution. Inoue's journey, from his early days dominating Japan's domestic scene to conquering world champions across continents, embodies the essence of the sport. He is proof that power and precision can coexist with humility and respect. Each victory brings him closer to the pantheon of all-time greats, where names like Pacquiao and Donaire reside. Yet what sets him apart is his unwavering identity. He does not fight for fame or theatrics. He fights for perfection. For Fulton, the loss to Inoue may serve as the spark that reignites his fire. Champions are not defined solely by victories, but by how they respond to defeat. His willingness to face the best, to step into hostile territory against overwhelming odds, is the mark of a true fighter. Should the rematch ever occur, it would not merely be about titles but about redemption and pride. Looking back, the Tokyo Clash stands as a modern masterpiece. It showcased everything that makes boxing timeless: the strategy, the courage, and the beauty within brutality. Inoue, calm and surgical, dissected a world-class opponent without cruelty, only clarity. Fulton, brave and composed, represented the heart of a warrior who dared to challenge the inevitable. Together, they gave the sport a moment of purity, a night when skill triumphed over noise, and respect prevailed over rivalry. As the lights dimmed and the crowd filed out of the arena, the echoes of that night lingered. Somewhere in the quiet hum of Tokyo, one could almost hear the unspoken dialogue between the fighters, a mutual recognition of greatness, carved in the language of punches. Naoya Inoue had proven once again why they call him the monster. Steven Fulton had reminded the world that courage, even in defeat, carries its own form of victory. And so, the question endures, if they were to meet again, who would prevail? Could Fulton adapt, find the angles, and reclaim his crown? Or would Inoue, the relentless architect of precision, simply refine his masterpiece further? The sport may one day provide an answer. Until then, the memory of that night remains, a testament to what happens when two extraordinary men meet at the summit of their powers. It was not just a fight, it was the art of boxing in its purest form.